The Zorblak's Hive's armada was a storm of death. Millions of alien warships, black and jagged like broken glass, surged past Mars, their engines howling. On board, the Zorblak's commanders, towering insectoids with mandibles dripping acid, clicked, "Orders." "Earth is meat," hissed Warlord Zizek. "Burn it, take the minerals, crush the ants." Their sensors showed no defenses, no fleets, no hope. Earth watched and waited. For decades, humanity had prepared. Hidden beneath oceans, buried in ice, cloaked by lies, were the Star Destroyers. Colossal, wedge-shaped warships, each longer than a city. Their hulls gleamed with armor that drank light. Their weapons? Lasers hot as stars, railguns firing asteroids at planet-splitting speed, and fusion bombs that erased time itself. The world's leaders had gambled everything on Operation Starshield. Now the Zorblaks had come to collect. At dawn over the Pacific, the sea split open. A star destroyer named Vanguard rose, water cascading off its back like a beast shaking free of mud. Dozens followed. Retribution, Aegis, Wrath of Eden, until the sky burned with their shadows. The Zorblak's armada faltered. Then came the fire. Earth's lasers lanced out, vaporizing entire wings of alien fighters. Railgun slugs punched through carriers, turning them to shrapnel. The Wrath of Eden detonated a fusion bomb near Saturn, creating a shockwave that shattered half the armada. Screams flooded the Zorblak's comms. Humans cheered, but the Hive adapted. From the depths of the swarm, the Colossus ships emerged. Living machines kilometers long, their bodies pulsed with stolen starlight. They were alive, biomechanical leviathans grown in the dark between galaxies. A Colossus took a direct hit from Aegis and laughed. Its skin regenerated, molten metal knitting itself shut. Another lashed out with a gravity whip, snapping Retribution in half. "New orders," barked Admiral Kwan on Vanguard's bridge. "Target the Colossi, all batteries, focus fire." Lasers and slugs rained on the monsters. One Colossus shuddered, then learned. Its AI evolved mid-battle, predicting Earth's tactics. It spat counterbeams, tearing through Vanguard's shields. Alarms blared. Casualties flooded the decks. "They're too smart," muttered a tech. "They're changing the rules as we fight." On the observation deck, Cadet 13 kicked a soda. Cannon glared at the chaos. At 17, he was the youngest recruit in the fleet, a genius with machines, a disaster with people. His uniform hung loose on his wiry frame. His eyes, sharp and angry, tracked every flicker on the holographic battle map. "Move, furball," he grumbled, nudging a scruffy black cat with his boot. The cat, Loki, had sneaked aboard during launch, hiding in a storage locker. Now he prowled the ship, tail twitching, ignoring Cadet 13's scowls. "Cadet," barked a sergeant. "Stop napping. Get to engine room 4. Coolant leak." Cadet 13 saluted with 2 fingers and trudged off, Loki trailing like a shadow. The halls reeked of burnt ozone. Along the way, Loki paused, sniffing a control panel. His fur bristled. He pawed the interface, triggering a klaxon. Not again. Cadet 13 shoved him aside, but the panel flashed. "Critical failure in coolant line 3. He froze. If Loki hadn't triggered the alarm, the engine would have melted in minutes. "You lucky furball," he muttered. Loki purred. Back on the bridge, the battle turned grim. 2 more Star Destroyers fell. Colossus ships breached Earth's orbital defenses, raining plasma on cities. Millions died in seconds. "Prepare for ramming speed," Admiral Kwan growled. "We make our stand here." Then Loki did something odd. He stared at a hologram of the Colossus, ears flat. His purr deepened into a growl. Without warning, he darted down a side corridor, yowling. Cadet 13 chased him, cursing. "Get back here, you're not even supposed to be here." The cat vanished into the ship's underbelly. Hours later, as Earth teetered on defeat, Loki's strange behavior would be the only clue to a secret older than the stars. A secret the Zorblaks had stolen, caged, and feared. But for now, the battle raged, and somewhere in the depths of Vanguard, a cat and a boy stumbled into a lab labeled Quantum Sapience, authorized personnel only. The lab was dark, its walls lined with broken machines and flickering screens. Loki trotted ahead, tail high, as Cadet 13 stumbled behind, muttering curses. The air smelled like burnt wires and old secrets. A sign on the door read, "Quantum Sapience. Authorized personnel only," but Cadet 13 kicked it open anyway. "Stupid cat," he growled. "You're gonna get us both court-martialed." Loki ignored him. He leapt onto a desk, knocking over a rusted canister. A hologram flared to life above it. A woman's voice, scratchy with age, began to speak. "If you're hearing this, the Hive knows. We tried to hide it, but the Colossus, it's alive. Not just machines, they stole something. Something that fights back." Cadet 13 froze. The hologram showed a Colossus ship, its pulsing core highlighted in red. "This energy, it's not theirs, it's sentient. We called it quantum sapience. It's why they adapt so fast. But it's unstable. A vibration at the right frequency could collapse it." The image glitched. "We ran out of time. Maybe you won't." Loki pawed at the hologram, his fur bristling. The screen flickered again, zooming in on the Colossus's core. The cat hissed, low and guttural, and the hologram shuddered. Cadet 13 blinked. "Wait, you hear that?" He grabbed a cracked datapad from the desk, its screen blinking erratically. Loki batted at it, triggering a graph of sound waves. Cadet 13's eyes widened. The waves matched Loki's purr, precisely. "No way," he whispered. "You're resonating with it?" Outside explosions shook the ship, alarms screamed. The battle was going sideways. By dawn, Cadet 13 had rigged a crude device, a stolen comms antenna wired to a speaker, powered by a battery from a maintenance droid. Loki sat in the middle of Engine Room 4, watching as the cadet fiddled with knobs. "All right, furball," Cadet 13 muttered. "Let's see if you're magic or just lucky." He turned the device on. A low hum filled the room. Loki's purr synced instantly, vibrating louder, deeper. The speaker crackled. Then pop. A holographic Colossus core appeared above them. Cadet 13 held his breath. Loki's purr hit the right note. The hologram flickered, then imploded. "Yes," Cadet 13 punched the air. "You're a living EMP," but his victory was short-lived. A voice barked behind him. "What in the stars do you think you're doing?" It was Sergeant Varga, his face red with rage. "You're supposed to be fixing toilets, Cadet, not playing with explosives." Cadet 13 shoved the device under his coat. I found something. Loki. He's got this frequency." "It breaks the Colossus's core," Varga snorted. "You're delusional. And you brought a cat into a warship?" Loki hissed, swatting the sergeant's boot. Varga kicked him away. Cadet 13 lunged forward, shoving the older man against a wall. "Don't touch him!" The room erupted in chaos. Guards tackled Cadet 13, pinning him. Loki vanished into the shadows. 3 days later, Cadet 13 scrubbed grease off a turbine in the engine room. Loki curled on a nearby crate. The cat's side was bruised from Varga's boot, but he purred as if nothing hurt. "You're an idiot," Cadet 13 muttered, wiping sweat. "I'm an idiot. We're both idiots." Loki sneezed. A klaxon blared. Over the intercom, Admiral Kwan's voice was grim. "All hands, brace for impact. The Wrath of Eden is down. Repeat, the Wrath of Eden is down." Cadet 13 froze. That ship had been leading the charge against the Colossus Armada. Without it, Earth's fleet was doomed. He looked at Loki. The cat stared back, unblinking. "All right," Cadet 13 said slowly. "Let's do this the hard way." They sneaked into the drone bay at midnight. Loki rode on Cadet 13's shoulder, clinging to his collar. The bay was a graveyard of repair drones, their casings dented and lifeless. Cadet 13 popped open a control panel, fingers flying over wires. "If I can reprogram one of these to carry you into a Colossus..." A noise made him spin around. A squad of Marines stood in the doorway, guns raised. "Step away from the drone," their leader ordered. Cadet 13 raised his hands. "Listen, I've got a plan. Loki can take out the Colossus. Let me prove it, the Marine scoffed. You're a joke. You're both jokes. Loki leapt onto a nearby console, knocking over a glass beaker. The crash triggered a chain reaction. A loose wire sparked, igniting a fuel line. Flames roared up the wall. The Marines scattered. Move, Cadet 13 yelled. He shoved Loki into the drone's cargo bay, slammed the hatch, and rerouted power. The drone whirred to life, its thrusters firing. Cadet 13! Admiral Kwan's voice boomed over the comms. Explain yourself. No time, he shouted back. Launch the drone. Target the nearest Colossus. The bay doors groaned open, revealing the chaos of battle. Alien ships streaked past like meteors. Somewhere below, Earth burned. The drone shot into the void. Cadet 13 watched the screen as Loki's signal flickered. The cat soared toward a Colossus, its biomechanical skin rippling. For a moment, the ship seemed to shudder, as if sensing the tiny intruder. Then Loki hit the core. The screen went white. Back on the bridge, Admiral Kwan stared at the feed. The Colossus twitched once, twice before its core collapsed inward. A shockwave tore through the armada, taking 3 more Colossi with it. Silence fell. Then, cheers erupted. Cadet 13, Kwan barked. Report to the bridge. Now. Cadet 13 stood in the ruined drone bay, his hands shaking. Loki was gone. The drone was gone. But the battle had turned. For the first time in days, he smiled. Later, as Earth's fleet regrouped, a faint signal pinged from the wreckage. Cadet 13 scrambled to the comms room, heart pounding. On the screen, Loki, alive, curled on a pile of alien debris, licking his paw. Cadet 13 laughed until he cried. The war wasn't over, but for now, the boy and his cat had bought humanity a little more time. The Vanguard's comms room reeked of burnt circuitry and sweat. Cadet 13 hunched over the flickering screen, his fingers trembling as Loki's signal blinked weakly. The cat was alive, but stranded inside a dying Colossus, surrounded by alien, debris and hostile drones. Permission to launch a recovery pod, Cadet 13 barked to Admiral Kwan, who loomed behind him. The Admiral's face was a storm. You want to fly into a collapsing Colossus? In a glorified garbage can? It's just me and Loki, Cadet 13 said. We're the only ones who can finish this. Kwan studied him. The boy's hands were raw from repairs, his eyes bloodshot. But there was fire in them, a stubbornness that reminded the Admiral of soldiers twice his age. 10 minutes, Kwan growled. If you're not back by then, we're leaving you behind. The pod was a dented repair vessel, barely big enough for Cadet 13 and a nervous engineer named Jax, who'd been volunteered for the mission. I hate cats, Jax muttered, strapping in. This is suicide. Cadet 13 ignored him, steering the pod into the void. The Colossus loomed ahead, a jagged mountain of black metal, its core still smoldering from Loki's attack. Chunks of it broke off, tumbling into space. Brace, Jax yelled as a plasma beam lanced past them. A Zorblax fighter streaked by. Guns blazing, Cadet 13 yanked the controls into a barrel roll, dodging fire. Hold the line, he snapped. Loki's signal is getting weaker. Inside the Colossus, Loki sneezed. His fur was matted with sticky alien goo, and his paws ached. But he kept walking, guided by an instinct deeper than fear. The walls pulsed around him, groaning like a wounded beast. He could feel the energy, the quantum sapience, screaming. Suddenly, a mechanical claw slammed down, inches from his tail. Loki hissed. A security drone loomed overhead, its red eye scanning him. Target identified. Quantum disruptor, it droned in broken English. Terminate. Before it could fire, a deafening clang echoed down the corridor. The pod's hatch burst open. Cadet 13 tumbled out, wrench in hand, followed by Jax, who promptly vomited in his helmet. Loki, Cadet 13 yelled. The cat yowled, swiping at the drone. Cadet 13 lunged, slamming his wrench into its eye. Sparks flew. The machine collapsed. You're a menace, Cadet 13 hissed, scooping Loki up. And you're a lunatic, Jax wheezed. We've got incoming. A swarm of drones descended. Back on the Vanguard, the battle raged. Another Star Destroyer fell, its hull torn open by a Colossus's gravity whip. Admiral Kwan gritted her teeth. Where's that cadet? On the bridge, a tech shouted, Sir, the Zorblaks are regrouping. They're building a hyperweapon. The screen showed a monstrous cannon forming at the edge of the battlefield, its barrel glowing with stolen starlight. It's aimed at Earth. Kwan turned to the comms officer. Get me Cadet 13, now. Inside the Colossus, Cadet 13 sprinted down a crumbling hallway, Loki clinging to his jacket. Jax lagged behind, dragging a stolen data drive. We've got the files, Jax gasped. Let's go. Cadet 13 skidded to a halt. The corridor ended in a cavernous chamber, its walls lined with glowing tubes. Inside each tube floated a shimmering orb, alive, writhing. Loki jumped down, trotting toward the nearest tube. His purr deepened, syncing with the orb's pulse. What is this place? Cadet 13 whispered. Jax scanned the data drive. His face paled. These orbs, they're the quantum sapience. The Colossus didn't invent this energy. They stole it from 1 billion dead planets. This is where they keep it. Torture it. Cadet 13 stared at Loki, who was now pawing at a control panel. The cat's fur bristled, vibrating wildly. A tube cracked open. The orb inside shuddered and reached out. It projected a memory, a planet much like Earth, its skies filled with peaceful ships. Then came the Zorblaks, harvesting the energy, leaving only ash. They're stealing souls. Cadet 13 breathed. A klaxon blared. The Colossus was self-destructing. Time to move, Jax yelled. Loki leapt into Cadet 13's arms. As they fled, the chamber imploded behind them. The pod tore free of the Colossus just as it exploded, joining the floating wreckage of the Armada. Cadet 13 clutched Loki, panting. Mission log, he rasped to Jax. We're not just fighting ships, we're fighting slaves. The Colossus isn't alive, it's possessed. Back on the Vanguard, Admiral Kwan listened to his report, her face grim. We've got bigger problems. The hyperweapon's charging. It'll wipe out Earth in 30 minutes. Cadet 13 looked at Loki. The cat stared back, tail flicking. You've got a plan, don't you? Kwan asked. Cadet 13 nodded slowly. Loki doesn't just collapse the cores, he freezes them. If we amplify his frequency, we could overload the hyperweapon. Kwan raised an eyebrow. You're saying your cat can destroy a planet killer? Not destroy, Cadet 13 said. Set it free. The plan was insane. Jax rigged the drone-based speaker system into a giant amplifier. Cadet 13 strapped Loki into a reinforced harness, attaching the device he'd built earlier. The cat purred, oblivious to the terror around him. We'll fly the pod into the hyperweapon's core, Cadet 13 explained to Kwan. Once we're inside, Loki hits the right note. The quantum sapience collapses the weapon from within, and if you miss, Cadet 13 grinned, then Earth's got a cool new asteroid. The pod launched. Zorblak's fighters swarmed them, but the Vanguard's lasers kept most at bay. Cadet 13 white-knuckled the controls, hurtling toward the hyperweapon's gaping maw. Brace, he yelled. They plunged inside. The core was a nightmare, a vortex of stolen starlight and screaming energy. Loki's purr hit the frequency. The speaker system screamed. The weapon shuddered. Then, silence. The hyperweapon froze mid-charge. Moments later, it imploded, vanishing into nothing. Back on Earth, billions cheered. The Zorblak's armada, leaderless and outmaneuvered, retreated in disarray. Cadet 13 slumped in his seat, exhausted. Loki curled on his lap, snoozing. You're a lunatic, Jax groaned, still vomiting. But we won, Cadet 13 said. For now. The next day, Cadet 13 stood on the Vanguard's bridge, watching the stars. Admiral Kwan handed him a data chip. The Zorblaks are regrouping, she said. They're not done. Cadet 13 pocketed the chip, scratching Loki's ears. Neither are we. The cat purred. a sound that carried across the galaxy, a promise, a warning, and a lullaby all at once. The Vanguard's observation deck buzzed with laughter and clinking cups. Cadet 13 slouched in a corner, picking at a ration bar, while Loki dozed on his lap. The crew celebrated their victory. The hyperweapon was gone, Earth was safe, and the Zorblaks had fled. But Cadet 13's gut twisted. Victory felt too hollow. "Relax," said Jax, sliding beside him with 2 cups of synth coffee. "You're a hero. Drink up." Cadet 13 ignored the drink. "They'll be back." Jax groaned. "Not this again." They lost 1 weapon, not their whole fleet. Cadet 13 jabbed a finger at the starscape. "They've got time to learn. To fix what we broke." Loki stirred, his tail flicking like a metronome. He sneezed, then trotted to the window, pawing at the glass. Cadet 13 followed his gaze. Beyond the floating wreckage of the Colossi, the Zorblaks' armada regrouped, silent, waiting. "They're not running," Cadet 13 whispered. "They're watching." On the bridge, Admiral Kwan stared at the same view. Her XO, Commander Rhea, leaned over a holographic map. "Scans show minimal damage to their core fleet. They're rebuilding fast." "Why haven't they attacked?" Kwan asked. Rhea hesitated. "They're waiting for something. We intercepted a signal, a Zorblak's war priest. He called Loki." "The Whisper," Kwan frowned. "The what?" "Legend, among their clans. A myth. Supposedly the quantum sapience we fought isn't just energy, it's a species. An ancient one. The Zorblaks enslaved it. Hunted it. But it fights back. Through hosts." Kwan's blood ran cold. "You're saying Loki isn't just a cat?" Rhea nodded. "He's a weapon or a savior. Depends who you ask." Meanwhile, Cadet 13 tinkered in engineering, welding Loki's frequency amplifier to a salvaged Colossus shard. The cat watched, tail twitching as sparks flew. "You're quiet," Cadet muttered. Loki headbutted his hand, purring. The shard glowed faintly in response. Yeah, you're a genius," Cadet said. "But so are they." He gestured to a live feed of the Zorblak's fleet. A new ship emerged from the swarm, a sleek obsidian leviathan, its hull etched with glowing runes. Unlike the Colossi, it pulsed quietly, its energy sealed tight. "They've armored it," Cadet breathed. "Shielded the core," Loki hissed. Back on the bridge, alarms blared. "New contact," a tech shouted. "It's massive." The obsidian ship loomed on the screen. Its hull absorbed light, making it nearly invisible. A voice crackled over comms, a Zorblak's warlord named Vrak, his mandibles clacking with rage. "You think you won?" he snarled. "We studied your whisper. Your cat's song is useless now." The ship fired. A beam of antimatter lanced out, slicing through a star destroyer like paper. The Wrath of Eden's sister ship, Judgment, exploded in a silent burst. Kwan gripped her chair. "All ships fall back, regroup at Sector Theta." "No." Cadet 13 burst in, Loki clinging to his shoulder. "If we retreat, Earth dies." Kwan turned. "What do you propose?" Cadet 13 held up the amplified shard. "They blocked Loki's frequency, so we changed the song." The plan was reckless. Cadet 13 and Loki would pilot a drone into the Zorblak's flagship's core, manually adjusting the amplifier mid-flight. If they failed, they'd die instantly. If they succeeded, the ship's shields would collapse, leaving it vulnerable. "You're insane," Jack said, helping strap Loki into the drone. "Takes one to know one," Cadet shot back. Loki sneezed, then headbutted Cadet's chin, affectionately for once. "Launch the drone," Kwan ordered. The void swallowed them whole. The drone zipped past burning wreckage, dodging Zorblak's fighters. Inside, Cadet 13 adjusted dials, syncing the amplifier to Loki's purr. The cat vibrated furiously, his frequency shifting higher, then lower. "Come on, furball," Cadet growled. "Find the note." Outside, the obsidian flagship opened fire, Again, obliterating another Star Destroyer. They're locking onto Earth. Jax yelled over comms, "You've got minutes!" Loki's purr hit a shrill, piercing pitch. The shard flared white. "That's it," Cadet yelled. "We're in!" The drone plunged into the flagship's core, a cavern of swirling antimatter and glowing runes. Loki's amplifier screamed. The runes flickered. Then, silence. Back on the Vanguard, Quan watched the flagship freeze mid-fire. "What's happening?" she barked. "Their shields. They're gone," a tech shouted. "Fire." "Everything," Quan roared. Lasers and slugs rained on the ship. It cracked open like an egg, spilling darkness into space. Cheers erupted. But Cadet 13's signal vanished. The drone was gone. So was Loki. Cadet 13 floated in the wreckage, his suit torn, his oxygen low. The last thing he remembered was Loki's. Purr hitting the final note, the core imploding and a flash of light. He woke to a face full of fur. Loki licked his nose, alive and unharmed. The cat sat beside him in a battered escape pod, its controls jury-rigged with wires. "You stole a pod?" Cadet rasped. Loki purred smugly. Back on the Vanguard. Cadet 13 limped onto the bridge. Loki perched on his shoulder. The crew stood silent. Quan approached, holding a data drive. "The Zorblacks are retreating. Their fleet is shattered." Cadet 13 saluted weakly. "Good. Now can I get a nap?" Quan smirked. "Not yet. We found this in the flagship's logs." Handed him the drive. Inside was a recording. A Zorblack's priest chanting about the whisper, the ancient energy they'd enslaved. But there was more. A warning. The whisper is not alone. Others sleep beneath dead stars. If you wake them, all will burn. Cadet 13 froze. Loki sneezed. That night, Cadet 13 stared at the stars, the drive in his pocket. The war was over. For now. Loki curled beside him, tail flicking like a ticking clock. Somewhere out there, the Zorblacks nursed their wounds, and something else, something older, hungrier, watched and waited. Earth's skies glowed with victory fireworks. Cities that had burned now celebrated, their streets filled with cheers and music. On the Vanguard, the crew threw a makeshift party in the mess hall. Synth coffee flowed, and even the grumpiest engineers clapped Cadet 13 on the back. Loki, perched on a stack of crates, watched it all with a smug purr, his medal dangling from a frayed red ribbon. But Cadet 13 wasn't celebrating. He sat alone in engineering, staring at the data drive Quan had given him. The Zorblack's warning, played on a loop. The whisper is not alone. Others sleep beneath dead stars. If you wake them, all will burn. "You're brooding," Jack said, dropping beside him with a ration bar. "It's unbecoming." Cadet 13 didn't look up. "They're not gone. The Zorblacks, or whatever's out there." Jack shrugged. "Yeah, but we've got time. And you've got a medal." "Loki's got a medal. We're legends." Loki sneezed, then batted at a floating hologram of the Zorblacks' flagship's core. Cadet 13 froze. The cat's paw flickered through the image, distorting it like ripples in water. "Wait," Cadet muttered. "You see that?" Loki headbutted his hand, purring. The hologram shifted again, revealing faint symbols hidden in the core's design, symbols identical to those on the salvaged Colossus shard. "You knew," Cadet whispered. "You're not just reacting to this stuff. You're part of it." Loki blinked slowly, his green eyes glowing faintly. The next morning, Earth's leaders broadcast a global address. Cadet 13 stood stiffly in front of a camera, Loki on his shoulder as Admiral Quan spoke beside him. "Today, we honor those who saved us," Quan declared. Cadet 13 and his cat Loki risked everything to stop the Zorblacks. "They are heroes." The Poe. Crowd roared. Cadet 13 winced. Loki yawned. Later, in a quiet corridor, Quan handed Cadet 13 a new assignment. "You're being transferred to a research station near Neptune. We're studying the quantum sapience. And you." Cadet frowned. You think I'm connected to this? Quan's gaze was sharp. Loki's not the only one with secrets. The station was a cold, silent place, a ring of labs orbiting Neptune's moon, Triton. Cadet 13 spent weeks dissecting Colossus, tech, cross-referencing Zorblack's files, and watching Loki interact with the salvaged shards. The cat's behavior grew stranger. He'd stare at the stars for hours, his purr vibrating the walls. When Cadet asked what he saw, Loki only nuzzled his hand. One night, an alarm blared. A Zorblack scout ship had been detected near Pluto's orbit. They're back, Cadet muttered, but the scout wasn't attacking. It was broadcasting a message, a single phrase in broken English. We seek the whisper. Quan ordered a lockdown. Cadet 13, against orders, opened a channel. You want Loki? He snarled. Come get him. The Zorblacks responded with coordinates to a derelict space station near Mercury. A trap or a plea? Cadet didn't care. He stole a shuttle, strapped Loki into the co-pilot seat and flew. The station was a rusted hulk, its halls lined with Zorblack's corpses. Cadet 13 crept through the dark, Loki's fur bristling. At the heart of the station, they found a lab. Walls, covered in holograms of distant galaxies, a single terminal blinking. Loki jumped onto the console, pawing at a symbol, a star cluster Cadet didn't recognize. What is it? He asked. The terminal activated. A Zorblack's priest's voice crackled. The Whisper's kin sleep here. We tried to cage them. We failed. The holograms shifted to show planets, dozens of them, each marked with glowing veins of quantum sapience. One planet pulsed red. The priest's voice grew frantic. They wake. They wake. They... The feed cut out. Loki sneezed. His purr synced with the pulsing planet, vibrating the shuttle's controls. Cadet 13 stared at the map. They're not just energy, he whispered. They're alive and they're angry. Back at the Neptune station, Cadet 13 slammed the data onto Quan's desk. The Zorblacks didn't just steal quantum sapience. They woke something up, and now it's coming. Quan read the files, her face pale. We need to warn Earth. Cadet shook his head. No, we need to stop it. You're a cadet, not a general. I'm the only one who understands this. And Loki. Quan hesitated. Then she nodded. Fine. But you're not going alone. Months later, the Vanguard led a fleet toward the pulsing planet. Cadet 13 stood on the bridge, now wearing a commander's uniform. Loki curled on his lap. The cat's purr hummed through the ship, syncing with the amplifier Cadet had built, a massive array of speakers and relays designed to broadcast Loki's frequency across light years. Admiral Quan approached. Final orders? Cadet looked at the stars ahead. We don't destroy them, we talk to them. Quan raised an eyebrow. You think they'll listen? Loki sneezed. Cadet smirked. Let's find out. The fleet dropped into the planet's orbit. The surface writhed with glowing energy, the quantum sapience rising like a storm. Cadet activated the amplifier. Loki's purr filled the void, a low resonant hum that rippled through the clouds. The energy stilled. Then a voice, not words but a feeling, echoed in their minds. You are not like the others. Cadet 13 stepped forward. No, we're not. The clouds parted. A colossal shape emerged, a being of light and shadow, its eyes twin galaxies. It stared at Loki and bowed. Years later, Earth's skies were quiet. The Zorblacks had vanished, their empire shattered. The quantum sapience once hunted now thrived in protected star systems. Cadet 13, now Commander 13, retired to a quiet asteroid base, teaching cadets how to communicate with the cosmos. Loki, older but still spry, dozed in a sunbeam, his medals stacked beside him. One day, a young recruit asked, "Why'd you stop fighting?" Cadet smiled. Because war isn't the only way to win. Sometimes all it takes is a cat and a song. Outside, the stars twinkled. Somewhere, the quantum sapience watched and waited. guardians of a universe that had finally learned to listen.